Time for another viewer suggested challenge. So this is coming from Human Rights Advocate, and the challenge is, I challenge you to play as General Jaziz against General Alexander. You may only destroy RD platforms, fire bases, power plants, and her units. You may not destroy anything she rebuilds, and you must rebuild every power plant you destroy. Thank you for another great video. Okay, so for this one, with those rules, it means that I can basically use whatever buildings and units I like. But because it's limited destruction, I gotta basically use those units and buildings in a way where I don't destroy the things that I'm not allowed to destroy. So if I was to use a Scud Storm, then I'd have to place the Scud Storm target in a way where I don't destroy any of those things I'm not allowed to do. So right now, I'm going to start off pretty standard, going for the 3 scaffolds for the supply stashes. That way I can bait out Alexander's A10 strike. So A10 strike is going to go off cash value, so that's why I got those 3 supply stash scaffolds cancelled. Now, with those cancellations done, I go straight for arms dealer because I do need to go for quad cannons. So quad cannons, I want to use those guys for the Aurora Bombers plus the Comanches that decide to fly into my base. Now I got 2 rebels. I've also got the capture upgrade. Now I'm using a different tactic this time, so I learned this tactic from Sketch TV. I'm building demo traps, so one next to the arms dealer, another one on the far left, and later on I am going to build another one near the water as well. Now the demo traps are actually going to be for Alexander's Chinooks, so she does sneak in some Chinooks, which are full of rocket troops, rangers, a sentry drone, and sometimes a pathfinder as well. But once the Chinook drops down, demo trap goes off, and then you don't have to worry about it. So it's a very easy way of dealing with the threat. So right now I've got 2 quad cannons that are just at that shoreline there. That's actually a very good spot for me. It seems like Alexander doesn't target any anti-air that are positioned in that one spot. So the bomber ended up taking out the worker, so I was going for the demo trap near the water there, so couldn't quite get it, but I still have time before the next Chinook comes down anyway. Now I ended up moving my workers away from the resource pile. I was anticipating Aurora Bombers coming for my supply stash, and I didn't want to lose 5 workers right off the bat too. So right now I'm moving my worker over to the water to build up that demo trap that I failed to do last time. So that way I'm going to be covered against Chinooks from all 3 points. Now I ended up using my sneak attack behind where my quad cannons are. So this is going to be a bait out for those Aurora Bombers. So I want the bombers to fly in and attack that tunnel network, so then my quad cannons can then pick off the Aurora Bombers later on. See, I want to try and generate the EXP that we need, so then we can get the cash bounty. We can also go for Rebel Ambush as well. It's mainly going to be the bounty here. I need to basically ensure that I can get the cash up and be able to bait out those A10 strikes, plus bait out the particle cannons. So this first section really is all about just trying to build ourselves up and recover from any losses caused by A10's particles and her bombers too. So right now Alexander is kind of slowing down my next move. I want to get more quad cannons so then I can go after the RD platform. So this is what I was telling you about before the Chinook. So Chinook drops down, demo trap goes off, and then all the units are down. So that Chinook can actually take damage from the demo trap itself, even when it rises back up from the air. In this case, the Chinook didn't take any damage from the demo trap, but I still had the Stinger Sight and the quad cannons to pick it off anyway, so no big deal there. So right now I'm going to get 2 of my quads from the pack of 5 to go after the RD platform. That way I'm not wasting any more time. So I've still got the 3 quad cannons that are going to act as my anti-air, so that's still going to be more than enough to deal with some of those Aurora Bombers and Comanches that fly in my base. So right now, going after that RD platform, I did lose a quad to the Comanche here, but I am going to be able to use my other quad to deal with the RD platform. Now earlier on, I ended up putting my 2 rebels plus the 2 rocket troops from the tunnel network inside the tunnel, so they could be used later on as well. I wanted to keep them alive. Now we do have one more Chinook that's dropping in, so demo trap's going to go off, take out those units, and that's going to be happy days for us. Now, I ended up doing 3 more supply stashes that's going to serve as the bait for the next A10 strike. So we're going to do this quite a bit during this battle here. I just want to make sure that I can retain as much cash as possible here, because we do need to spend it on more useful things, like those radar vans too. So getting a few radar vans, because I need to be able to use the radar scan ability from the black market. So I did hit rank 3 here, and I decided to go for triple bounty. So the reason why I went for triple bounty and not double bounty and a level 1 rebel ambush is because a level 1 rebel ambush, the only things that you could really do with that would be to spawn them in where the oil derricks are, capture those, get a little bit of extra cash. So that's one thing. Another thing is you could spawn them in the top right corner of Alexander's base and then capture one of the power plants. That would increase your production speed of buildings. So you could do that, but I found that it was going to be less effective, and actually it would hurt my strategy going forward because of Avengers. So Avengers would actually flock towards the supply drop zone area and then try and go after that power plant with its laser pointer. So we don't want that. So we're going to build up a few more quads, and I've got 3 radar vans too with the radar scan ability. So the reason why I want radar scan ability is because I want to be able to see where Alexander's patrolling Comanches are. So I need to be able to see where they are, and then I can actually make a move with my quad cannons with the sneak attack. So right now we're just waiting on our quad cannons to come, so then we can make our first big move against Alexander. So remember, I'm only allowed to destroy power plants, fire bases, arty platforms, and Alexander's units. I can't destroy anything she rebuilds. I don't know if I was allowed to destroy Patriots or not. Let me know in the comments, Human Rights Advocate, but you did say, you know, fire bases, arty platforms, and power plants. You didn't say anything about buildings that she can't rebuild, whether I can or can't destroy those. So there was a little bit of room for interpretation, but I actually didn't destroy any Patriots in this challenge. So right now I'm going to use my radar scans. The first one was a Comanche check. The second one is for the sneak attack that we're going to use. So now we're going to pop out with our 4 quad cannons, and we'll be able to take out this arty platform and take out the Avengers too. So now that we've popped out with the quad cannons, I decided to press the X key. That way we split up those quad cannons, and then we don't take as much damage overall to the Comanche's rockets. So here comes the Comanches now, and we are going to lose 1 quad cannon to the Comanches. So if I didn't press the X key earlier, I could have lost all of those quad cannons because they would have been close together and it wouldn't have been good for me. So we ended up taking out the Comanches plus the Avengers and the Chinook, and I haven't destroyed the supply center yet. So in the rules, like I said, I can't destroy any building that she rebuilds, but this is a building that she can't rebuild. But it's also a building that's not specified as a building that I can destroy. Remember, arty platforms, fire bases, and power plants, plus her units. Those are what I can destroy. So because of all of that, I decided to capture the supply center instead. So we are eventually going to pop out with a rebel and capture the supply center, so there is no rule against capturing the buildings. Meanwhile, back at base, we've got to bait out the next set of particle cannons. So the next set of particle cannons will go after the supply stash and the arms hill. That's why I'm setting up a scaffold of those 2 things. So the closer the scaffold is to Alexander's base, the more likely she is to fire on that scaffold. I'm also going to set up 4 more supply stash scaffolds. That's going to bait out the A10 strike. So when it comes to the A10 strike bait, you've basically got until the particle cannons finish to actually set up your bait for the A10s. So we're able to bait out the A10s because we've got, what is that, 6k worth of stuff in that one spot. So we'll be able to bait that out pretty easily. And we're going to go for the capture on that supply center from Alexander. And we can also build Chinooks from the supply center. That way we got an extra resource gatherer and another set of supplies to gather from. Now we still have triple bounty, plus we've also got the resource piles that are near the arty platform that we destroyed at the beginning of the battle too. So in terms of cash, we're doing pretty well. So we're just taking out the last Avenger, that way we can finally build a Chinook to gather these resources as well. and then that way we can get even more cash. Now we are sitting on over 16k right now, so reason why we're sitting on so much cash is because of the cash bounty for one, but we haven't made too many mistakes. We've been able to successfully bait out those particle cannons and A10 strikes, so we've been able to save quite a bit of cash because we've been making so few mistakes. So I ended up popping out with a few more quads on the right side of this island because Comanches can still come and ruin my day here. So I did lose a quad cannon from that little exchange. So then I decided to get the remaining upgrades from the black market because we were floating on quite a bit of cash. We are going to pop out with these quads as well. I'm trying to make sure that I got both the right side and the left side of this island covered with quad cannons, because the Comanches can basically, they'll fly from the top part of the map and then they'll fly right into where my quad cannons are on the left side of that island. It's actually really good to watch, and because all those quads are vet 3, they're going to go down pretty easily. But the quads on the right, I'm going to need more quads because they're unvetted, so we should be good going forward as well. So now I've got all the quad cannons I need for this top left corner. So here you're going to see the Comanches fly in from the top, and look at how fast they go down. So these 3 Comanches, I forgot to mention this, but the 3 Comanches that just got destroyed, those are supposed to be the patrolling Comanches that fly around the map. So what's going to happen now is Alexander is going to build another 3 Comanches, and then she'll do the same thing. Once they're all built, she'll send them straight to that top part of the map, and then they'll fly right into the quad cannons, and then my quad cannons will take them out. So that's going to be very good for me because I need those Comanches to stay out of the game so then I can make my very big move later on. And the very big move I got planned is actually very precise, so I really need to make sure that any and all distractions, interruptions, and like any obstacles are out of the way. So right now we've built a bunch of workers, so they're all in the tunnel, and I'm also going to build up some Scorpion tanks. I'm also going to get Jarman Kell, so I put him off to the left part of the map, and the reason why I did that is because I didn't want to increase the value of the tunnel networks, because if you increase the value of the tunnel network, it means the A10s will go for the tunnel networks as well. So right now I'm building more tunnel networks, so then that way I don't lose the units that are inside the tunnel networks. So I was looking at the timers, and we're going to bait out the next set of particle cannons. So this time around it's 3 particle cannons, so Armzilla, Black Market, and a supply stash scaffold. Cancel those out, and we just baited out 3 particle cannons. Now to bait out the A10 strike. So I ended up doing 3 Armzilla scaffolds as well, so that's going to be $7,500. Now when it comes to the particle cannons, the one on the far right, in the bottom right corner, that's going to be the one that goes for barracks and supply stashes, and then the other 2 would go for the Armzilla, and then the last one would go for tech buildings. So specifically it'll go for black market, but if you don't have a black market then it'll go for a palace instead. Now the A10s, they didn't go for my bait this time because I increased the value of what was inside the tunnel network. So I've got Jarman Kell, the Scorpion tanks, the workers, and all the other infantry. So here I dropped a save because I was like, this is so precise that if I get it wrong then I'll have to redo it. So I was like, just so I don't have to bash my head against the wall, let's drop a save. So we're going to do a sneak attack right inside Alexander's base, and if you position it just right, the Patriots won't actually hit the sneak attack. So now we're going to pop out with 1 rocket trooper, we're going to hit the power plant, and then we're going to go right back inside. That's going to trigger the dozer to want to repair the power plant. Now the dozer is close to my sneak attack, we're going to get Jarman Kell to snipe the dozer. Now here's the thing. The sneak attack has taken damage, so even if I occupy the dozer won't go inside the sneak attack because he'll want to repair the sneak attack instead. So what we're going to do is we're going to pop out with some of our units, so then we can actually distract the Patriots, but also get the workers to repair the sneak attack. Meanwhile, we'll get someone else to occupy the dozer to go inside the sneak attack whilst the workers repairing the sneak attack. Hopefully that all makes sense. So workers repairing, he's doing his thing. Scorpions, they're soaking up the damage from that Patriot. I did lose a bunch from that ambush, but we were able to get the dozer inside the sneak. Doesn't matter what happens next, we got him. We can now build a command center and some power plants. So some of you might be wondering, okay, Crackler, why are you making such a big fuss over getting a USA dozer? So the reason why I'm making such a big fuss over this is because one of the rules is I have to rebuild the power plants that I destroy. So the only two ways you can get a hold of a USA Dozer in this matchup is to capture the command center or use German Keller's Sniper Dozer like I did. Now if you capture the command center, the Patriots are going to be able to fire on the command center, disabling it, so you won't be able to build a Dozer anyway. So this was the only possible way that I could think of really doing a German Kell snipe whilst the power is still on inside Alexander's base. So with that said, we're now able to build up the whole USA tech tree. Now here's the cool thing. If you were to build up the whole USA tech tree, and let's say we sold off all of our GLA buildings except for like our command center, the particle cannons won't be able to fire because it's basically scripted to fire on our GLA buildings, not Alexander's USA buildings. So we could pretty much just finish this whole battle out using Alexander's tech. So right now I'm building up a few bomb trucks here. So the reason why we're building up bomb trucks is because I want to go after the Arty platform where I did my sneak attack to get the Dozer. So I could have also gone for demo bikes, because since we're playing as demo general, we're going to have access to demo bikes, not combat bikes. But I wanted a guaranteed kill on the Arty platform, so I ended up going for 3 bomb trucks as well with the upgrades too. We've got 31k in cash now, so it's not like we're pressed for cash. So we're going to do the bait out anyway, because I don't want to lose any of my buildings. I do want to keep my GLA tech intact. That way I can have a mixture of GLA options plus USA options for General Alexander. I have also gone for a few more USA Dozers. That way I really do ensure that I can keep the USA tech alive, because she does have her airfield, so she can still attack me with her Alpha Aurora bombers. So we don't want to lose access to this USA tech. Now here comes the 3 bomb trucks here, going straight in. It also destroys my sneak attack, so because I've destroyed the Arty platform, I can no longer use my sneak attack in that specific spot, because the Patriot that's further left of the Arty platform will be able to fire on that. And oddly enough, the Patriot that was off to the right that wasn't firing can fire now because the Arty platform has been destroyed. A little bit of a weird one, but in any case, I can't do that anymore. But we got what we wanted. We got a Dozer, we got our USA tech, so now we can move on to the next thing. So next thing that I want to do is I want to capture Alexander's command center. So in order to do that, we're going to use a rebel ambush, but I want to wait until we get to rank 5. So with rank 5 we can go for level 3 rebel ambush. That way we can ensure that we don't lose all of our rebels to the Patriots later on. So while we wait on all of that to happen, we're going to use our USA Dozers to build up more power plants, because I do want to build up particle cannons, so I need to make sure I've got enough power to then use up the particle cannons. So particle cannons, they will cost $2,500 a piece, so that's going to be easy work for me. We're still floating on quite a bit of cash too. Now the Aurora bombers, they're not really attacking me now, so the whole triple bounty isn't really in play, but we've still got our Chinook plus our workers gathering resources, so we're doing just fine. So another thing that I did is I ended up building up 4 rebels and 4 demo bikes, and I ended up replacing the Terrys with those rebels, so we can use those later on as well. I ended up building them more so for the power plants that are next to the particle cannons, so we can capture those later on too. Now the thing is, because we have to rebuild the power plants that we destroy, I thought to myself, well, if I destroy those power plants that are next to the particle cannons, there's no guarantee that I'll be able to rebuild those with the Dozer. Even though I've got like Chinooks to drop off the Dozer, I've got tunnels and sneak attacks, I've got all of that we can do, but yeah, I just wasn't sure if I was able to build a power plant in that exact spot. So I thought capturing would be the better option compared to destroying the power plant with whatever units and buildings we've got. Now we're going to go for rebel ambush in between the power plant and the command center, so we will lose some rebels as well, because you know, it's so many rebels from a level 3 rebel ambush, so some of them are going to be out there in the open, so we did lose a couple, but we're going to be able to capture the command center, plus we'll be able to capture a power plant too. Now because we destroyed the Arty platform where we did our sneak attack off to the right, it means we won't lose these rebels too. So that's the thing, if the Arty platform was intact, I'd lose all of these guys. I'd probably have to use one rebel to act as a distraction whilst the other captures the command center is a lot tougher compared to what I'm doing right now. So we got her command center, and I tried to use my sneak attack where we sniped the dozer. So we can't use the sneak attack because, as I mentioned earlier on, the Patriot will be within range because we destroyed the arty platform earlier on with the bomb trucks. So that sneak attack is useless, but the command center, on the other hand, it's going to get destroyed by the Patriots, but it will generate a bunch of ranges for me to work with. So these ranges, I'm going to run them all the way over to where the supply drop zone is. So the supply drop zone is going to be a safe zone for these ranges, and we'll be able to capture the supply drop zone too. As for the two dozers, we can use our particle cannon later on. Now, the command center that's been destroyed is a building that Alexander cannot rebuild, so the dozers will remain where they are, so I can wait on my particle cannons and then just go in a straight line and go for the dozers too. Now, we did capture a few power plants. Now, these power plants, technically we don't have to rebuild those because we captured them and she destroyed my power plants, not me destroying her power plants. But I do rebuild them anyway later on, so you don't need to worry about that, Human Rights Advocate. It is going to get rebuilt. So I've pretty much got to hold on things. I've just got to wait on the particle cannons to be ready, and that's when I can really make some moves on Alexander. And like I said, I've got the dozer, so we can rebuild those power plants later on, because we're going to destroy a bunch of power plants with these particle cannons. So first particle cannon, we're going to go right for this power plant, and we're going to make our way over to where these dozers are. So the dozers will react and try and repair the power plants, and we're just going to go in a little bit of a zigzag to get both dozers so she can no longer rebuild anything. Now, I've got two more particle cannons left, so we're going to go for two more power plants. Now, these two power plants are going to be easy work, and we're going to go for the firebase. So firebase is something I'm allowed to destroy. We did get one Aurora bomber out of it too, so that's nice. I'm also going to go for the arty platform too. That way, if I send any units over that way, the arty platform won't get in my way, because I don't really have a lot of units in the way of stealth, so they will get detected. Now, I've got one more particle cannon, but I'm going to bait out her particle cannons before I fire my particle cannon, so that's easy work as well. She doesn't have the command center, so don't need to worry about A10 strikes as well. She did hit me with the Aurora bomber, but she doesn't have enough to take out my particle cannon, so that was fine. So next particle cannon is going to go for this trio of power plants. I'm not going to aim at any Patriots, by the way, because again, it was a building that wasn't specified as something that I could or couldn't destroy, so we're just going to leave it alone. So next thing that I want to do is I'm going to use my rebel ambush in this top right corner. So with that, I can now capture a couple more power plants, and then we can sell off the power plants to then move on to the next batch of power plants in the second row. Now, I couldn't do this earlier because her Avengers would go where the supply drop zone is, and that would actually ruin my plan a little bit for when I went for sniping the dozer earlier on in the battle. See, having those Avengers there, they'd negate my rocket fire from my rocket trooper. You could use a rebel to fire on the power plant, but because it's less damage, it means that it's going to take longer for the dozer to actually get to your sneak attack, so then you can snipe it and then occupy it to go inside the sneak attack later on. So that's why a rocket trooper is going to be a much more viable option when it comes to baiting out that dozer towards your sneak attack. Now, I am going to lose a rebel here to the Patriots, so there is going to be some like auto firing depending on the unit, so there is going to be damage done to those Patriots, but the Patriots are not going to be destroyed. So any misclicks or auto firing, I think that's going to be okay and understandable for this sort of challenge. Now, I'm capturing the two power plants that are at the supply drop zone. I thought that if I capture all of these power plants together in that top right corner and at the drop zone, then we could knock out her power and then I wouldn't lose any power plants that way. Now I'm going to sell off one more power plant so then I can be within range of this power plant. I'm going to capture that too, and then we can also rebuild those power plants that we sold off with our dozers. So we're going to do our sneak attack in the same spot where we sniped the dozer, and I'm going to pop out with our bikes as well as Jarman Kell as well, because we got the attention of the Rangers. So we're going to take out the Rangers, we're going to use one bike to now capture this power plant here. So like I said before, I felt it was better to capture these power plants because I wasn't sure about being able to rebuild the power plants that are next to those particle cannons. So I ended up pulling back with one of my bikes because I noticed a few Comanches too. Now I can't destroy those Comanches with a particle cannon because they're hovering above the airfield, and I can't destroy buildings that Alexander would rebuild, so I have to think of an alternative. So I ended up getting my fully vetted quad cannons into the mix because she has nothing left to attack me with, and I noticed that my quad cannons were auto-firing on one of her Patriots, so I ended up going back inside the sneak attack and then thinking of a different plan. So I ended up using one particle cannon on a firebase. That was kind of unnecessary, but I thought I'd try and kill a little bit of time as well. Now, we're going to get one quad cannon to pop out and then do the job. So just going to have one quad cannon, and he's got such good range as well. And we're going to be able to take out all three, and now we can go right back in without destroying any Patriots. And we can capture the power plant too. So now all the big threats have been dealt with in Alexander's base, so I felt it was safe to actually move my dozers into Alexander's base to start rebuilding those power plants, because that is the last rule of this challenge. So there's no rule that specifies when I build those power plants that I destroy, so just keep that in mind. So we're going to speed through this section, we're going to build up each of these power plants. I ended up taking it a step further, and I ended up building other buildings too, like the command center, and I tried to get it in basically the same spot, and I did actually have a moment where I was like, were there 4 power plants behind the command center or 5? So I did build an extra one as well, so really making sure I follow the rules here. I ended up getting my dozer to rebuild the power plants in the top right corner as well by using a sneak attack to get him in, then destroying the sneak attack to actually get the room. So that is going to be how we did Human Rights Advocates Challenge, where we destroyed only Arty platforms, fire bases, power plants, and her units. And I didn't destroy anything else that she had. So I sort of one-upped your challenge a little bit here, Human Rights Advocate. So if you enjoyed this one, leave a like, comment, subscribe. I do have a playlist, so you want to check out any of my other content. I'm Crackler, and I shall see you in the next one. Bye.
Oh, it's not fair. One more super weapon and I would have beaten you, General. Challenge me again. I dare you.